Maybe I'll be able to get Morning Fresh as a sponsor. Some pretty crazy stuff going on in the world right now, isn't there? It makes me wonder about conflict in relationships. Now, obviously, what I'm talking about, I'm not going to talk about on YouTube, but, you know, at a macro level, the idea that where there is some conflict, that repair can be made by having further conflict or by taking revenge is seriously flawed. Can you ever think of a time in your life where by you being wronged in some way and then you taking revenge, that then repaired that particular situation? Maybe it made you temporarily feel better, but it didn't repair it, did it? It didn't make it any better, and probably made it much worse. You see that with people in divorce courts all the time, right? You took the dog, so I'll get the cat, or I'll do something to the dog because you did something to my cat. I'll say this about you to my children because I heard you say this. No one wins, do they? Most of you know that I'm not religious at all, but there is some merit in the idea that do unto others as you would do unto yourself. I would take that one step further by saying that we are all one. We are all connected in some way, whether we believe it or not. And so anytime we do something to someone else, if we hurt or take revenge or exact some sort of retribution, limit the rights or liberties of anyone else, we're actually hurting ourselves as well. There's been a bit of talk about channels on YouTube being limited or hamstrung or shadow banned, and these are all probably terms that will end up in my channel being shadow banned, but somebody's got to talk about it. This has been happening, and I guess the powers that be at YouTube think that that is for the benefit of everybody, that by hurting or limiting what one person can do, that it will actually be good. But yeah, it's not. It'll just result in ever narrower points of view being presented as useful. Whereas in a society where free speech is valued, like the society I live in Australia, where you live in America, or in other places in the world, it's many, many alternative points of view, and especially points of view that don't agree with yours, and the ability to openly discuss those points of view, that results in a free society. Relationships where everybody can talk about their particular points of view without being labelled as nutty or wrong or whatever, and be able to present their own evidence, are healthy. Those where only one particular point of view is accepted ultimately end up being very unhealthy. So it's month number 4. I think I'm 2 days past my 4th month anniversary of being on the carnivore diet. And if you are new here, I'm Rod. Welcome to my channel. Hopefully you'll stay. This is one of the most popular segments, and it's the one that I actually enjoy the most. I talk very little about the carnivore diet actually, and I talk a lot more about psychology and mindset and things that are going on in my life as well. I wanted to mention fear. I like the acronym for fear, which is false evidence appearing real. And it's interesting how the things that we fear are hardly ever come to pass. Sure, there are people who live in different parts of the world who have every reason to fear for their life. But I think in a lot of Western societies, we're ruled by fear, and, you know, we can get mired in fearful thinking when what we're afraid of is actually either not even going to happen, or the result that we were expecting is a lot less than what we thought it was going to be. I've got a friend at the moment who lost his job, and he lost his job because he was very unwell. He became very sick, and Then his employer fired him, and about 6 weeks, 7 weeks after that, his health is just starting to return, but he's just got his 5-day eviction notice. And his landlord was trying to be kind about it, but he said, look, this is the corporate policy, and I know you're a good guy, but I have to give you this eviction notice. If you don't pay your rent, you'll have to be evicted within 5 days. And so my friend, he's, he acknowledges the fact that it's there, but he's not afraid. He's not worried about it. And I thought, well, he's actually got plenty of reason to be worried and afraid of his situation. His perspective is that there's some particular reason why this is actually occurring to him. And he's always had this idea that he might have to move to a different state even, and maybe that is part of the catalyst. Perhaps he would never make that move to a different state if he wasn't actually evicted from his property, from his house that he's living in currently. And he's been struggling to put together enough to buy groceries and whatnot. But yeah, he's looking for a reason why this is happening for him and not to him. I think I might have mentioned this before. This is a really important concept. Whenever anything is happening to you that, well, I'm using that term happening to, whenever anything is happening that feels like it's really just not what you want, just consider that this happens for you and it's not happening to you. One is a mindset which is looking for the silver lining in whatever it is that's going on. The other one is just being a victim. So it means that you have absolutely no control over what occurs in your life, and this is happening to you. Oh, woe is me, why is this happening to me? Now, I'm not trying to downplay stressful situations that you might be in at the moment, things that have actually happened to you that you did not ask for. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. But I'm suggesting that there is often a different way that you can look at something so that you can see what the benefit is for that situation to you, rather than thinking, well, oh, woe is me. And like I've said before, sometimes just talking about what's actually occurred in the context of, well, what can I learn from this, is very, very useful. And speaking from my own experience, if I hadn't have talked about some of the adverse situations that I've run into on my channel here, then the solutions may not have actually ever appeared. And speaking of solutions to previous situations, I have my first day on my new part-time job tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. And it's funny how even with that job, I've got these little fears that are running through my mind. One is, well, I'm in Australia, so I'm in a GMT plus 11 time zone. And the other people who I'll be working with are in the USA, which is typically GMT minus 5. So when it's 8 o'clock in the morning for me, it's like at the end of the day for them. So there's this little voice in my head that's going, well, that might actually be something that doesn't work for them. You might need to be online at the same time as they are so that you can all communicate at the same time. Thoughts like that, even though they're ones that I've already discussed them before accepting their position. Whereas I know the reality is, from my previous experience working for overseas employers, is that a lot of the communication you have doesn't need to be in real time. It can be done in serial. So you can, record a video conversation or a text message or an audio message, and you can send it to someone. They can then send a reply when they want to. And there are some things about having people working in different time zones that... Thanks for the car alarm. So there are some things about people working in different time zones within a team that actually is a lot better, because they have more time that's uninterrupted to actually do productive work. So a useful thing about fear is to take whatever it is that you fear and play it right through and go, okay, well, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Now, in the case of my friend who's about to be evicted, well, the worst thing that could happen is he actually does get, the sheriff comes and evicts him from his house. And he would have to find somewhere else to live. And he may end up being in a shelter for a period of time. And thinking through all those things, could you actually deal with that? Could you live with that for a period of time? Yeah, you could. Would it in some ways make it easier for him to actually get to the next place he's got to go to? Yeah, it would. Is he likely going to die as a result of being evicted? Probably not, very unlikely. So you can apply that to any situation. Let's say you are going on a first date and you are very worried about how this date is going to go because you've not been on a date for 2 years and you really like this person, you've think that you connect on a lot of different levels and you just don't want it to be stuffed up by when the first time you meet in person. So, you know, just have a look at a rational look at it. What's the worst that could happen? Worst that could happen is it's going to be a terrible date and you don't see each other again. Does that mean that you won't be able to have any more dates? Nope. Are there likely to be plenty of fish in the pond for you to go and date? Very likely. No matter how weird you are, how many faults you've got, what you look like, there's always going to be someone out of the however many billion people that there are in the world who is going to be just perfect for you. And if you can accept what the worst case scenario is, then you automatically get into a much more, relaxed situation and you start to chill out about whatever might occur. And as a result of that, better things happen anyway, right? So I had this terrific conversation earlier today with Anita from Ketogenic Woman. I was invited to participate in her live stream, which was a few hours ago, and it was so much fun. I had such a good time, and she's such a nice lady, and her audience, which I know some of her audience are actually watching this right now, were very kind and asked some really great questions. And one of the questions that came up was, how do you deal with cravings? And this is one that I actually get a lot from my clients as well. So there is no one-size-fits-all solution to this, but I can just tell you how I dealt with cravings, and particularly sweet cravings. So what I dealt with this in stages. For some people, it's just better just to go without sweet things, go cold turkey and get through whatever you have to get through. I initially, when I switched to going to carnivore, I just reduced anything. I took out anything that had sugar in it and anything that had processed carbohydrates in it. But I kept in anything that was artificially sweetened because I thought that would be okay, right? There's no calories in that, so it's right. So I'd, going on a long drive, I used to buy a protein bar and a can of soft drink that would have been artificially sweetened with aspartame or erythritol or one of those things. I gave up the protein bar, kept in the sweet drink, and that was something that I really looked forward to because it was sweet, right? But it didn't do anything. I still had to fight the urge to want to eat things that were sweet, whether sweetened with sugar or artificially sweetened. So at some stage, I think the penny dropped and I thought, okay, well, I've just got to get rid of anything that is sweet at all and see what happens. So then I just eliminated anything artificially sweetened, switched the diet sodas to sparkling water. And it was a little bit not fun for a week or two. And then after that, it was like there was this urge or this addiction kindly just lifted. And I was no longer ruled or controlled by it. I was the one that was in control. That was awesome to get to that point. I had no idea how to get there. I had no idea how good it was going to feel to not be ruled by sweet things, not be ruled by that craving for having something sweet in my body for no other reason than it was just a craving. So that's something you could try. If you're dealing with addiction to sweet foods or cravings, then, if it's a craving for something like cream, etc., well, I had that too, and I just eliminated it for a period of time. And then I tried reintroducing it after a couple of weeks to see what would happen. If it's sweet things, then you've got to eliminate everything that's sweet, at least in my case, and then the craving went away, and then just see what happens if you reintroduce something. Now, you might be someone who just has to be an abstainer, and you just never have those things, and that even if you have one, you instantly start craving them again, and then things can go sideways. Or you might be someone where after a period of time where you've abstained, that you can actually introduce it on the odd occasion, and it's okay. You don't suddenly throw the baby out with the bathwater or fall off the wagon. So there were loads of other great questions that were asked in that live stream, and rather than go over them now, I'll actually put a link to that live stream so you can go and check it out. Go and check out Anita's channel. She's got a really great channel. And if you'd like to learn about different ways you can cook when you're eating the carnivore way, hers is a great channel for that. So my last video was about the sous vide, my sous vide disasters, the many that I've had, and I had loads of feedback. Considering how few people actually watched that video, there was a lot of people actually made comments. So I appreciate all of your feedback and additional help with that. Where I'm at now is I think I was going with the really long sous vide cooks is probably not necessary. So I'm going to do a couple of short ones, and I'm just going to see how they actually go and see if I have more success there with just doing just 1 or 2 hours instead of going for the whole big 24-hour thing. I'm very excited about a guest that I've got coming up on, what's today, Monday, so Wednesday, which is Lily Kane. So if you don't know who Lily Kane is, she has a very popular YouTube channel where she talks a lot about the carnivore way of eating, which she started a few years ago. And she's going to be coming on. We're going to be having a chat. Now, if you've got anything that you would like me to ask Lily, then feel free to post that in the comments. I'm going to have some of my own questions. I'm also going to do a community post and just ask people, what they would like me to ask Lily. This will be the first time that I've had one of the bigger content creators on my channel. So I'm a little bit nervous, but also excited about the opportunity to talk with her, because she's been really fundamental and helpful with my whole carnivore journey. And if you haven't seen any of her videos, she's a breath of fresh air in the space. I think she's not particularly dogmatic about anything, and she has lots of alternative perspectives about how you can eat, and talks a lot about her own experiences, which are different to some other experiences I've heard as well. And it just reinforces the point that everybody's body is unique, and the human body is a very complicated system, and what works for one person may not necessarily work for another, and there are so many different variables that go into you achieving the absolute peak health that you're looking for. So if you're just starting with a carnivore diet, or you've been going for a while and you're struggling, just hang in there. Just take one day at a time. If you do slip up, just start again tomorrow. Or if your last meal was not the kind of meal that you wanted, well, just start with the next one. You can do it. It does get easier as time goes by, and it really can take a long time for your body to heal. And as that healing process occurs, you're going to go through different emotional and physical states as part of that. So how about you check out that video next? I think that would be a good one for you. Going to take a look? Well, if you don't check out that video, I'd really appreciate if you hit the like button and hit subscribe so you get a notification for when the next one comes out. Or you could do all three if you like. I'll see you later.